Our Region's Business is sponsored by PNC for the Achiever in You. Welcome to Our Region's Business with your host, Bill Flanagan.
Today on Our Region's Business, we're here at 11 Stanwyck Street in downtown Pittsburgh, the venerable former headquarters of the Westinghouse Electric Corporation. It's gone on a multi-million-dollar facelift, including new intelligent building technologies that have made this one of the greenest buildings in Gateway Center. And it's a fitting symbol for the technologies that have changed and are changing our region every day. Today we'll meet the co-founder of a startup called Peacemaker Technologies that's bringing 3D printing to the toy business. And we'll find out how Uber is redefining rideshare in our region. But first, a new leader at the helm of the Allegheny County Airport Authority and taking aim at improving service at Pittsburgh International Airport. Her name is Christina Cassotis, and she joins us today on Our Region's Business. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
So a little bit of your background for folks who haven't followed your story yet. Where'd you come from? What brought you to Pittsburgh?
The job. Got here in January. I was a consultant for a lot of years working with airports around the world, and prior to that I worked at Boston Logan International Airport.
Okay, Boston Logan. Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in New Hampshire. I'm a New Englander, so this is my first big venture outside of New England, and delighted to be in Pittsburgh.
Excellent. Well, good to have you west of the Alleghenies.
Thank you.
You're finally pioneering out here on the east coast of the Midwest.
Yes.
But what attracted you? You know, Pittsburgh, we've lived and loved and cried over our airport for the last 20 years, and it's been frustrating in recent years because of the lack of connectivity people used to enjoy. It would seem to have challenges as well as opportunities. What did you see when this opportunity came up?
That the city has reinvented itself and the airport hasn't kept pace. I think that's in a nutshell, that's what I see. I think that all of the fundamentals are in place, and my job is the art of assembly. I am looking at a diversified economy that really has gone through a remarkable renaissance. I see businesses that are not getting the air service that they need, and airlines that are looking for the places that they might have missed along the way. So my job is to highlight Pittsburgh, the region, southwestern Pennsylvania, and talk about the fact that this is a community that is still underserved and deserves more air service.
I mean, I think the paradigm we all have, knowing that the airport was originally designed, the new airport, we call it the new airport, 20 years old.
Yes, it's not new anymore.
It's not new anymore, but it's the hub paradigm. And if you talk to a lot of Pittsburghers, when can we have another great big hub? Is that really the right fit for Pittsburgh?
No, that's not coming back. No, it's the hub markets work when you can fill those airplanes with about 50% of people from that market, and that doesn't work in markets like Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Raleigh, St. Louis, Memphis, Columbus. A lot of mid-Atlantic and Midwest hubs are no longer hubs because the economics didn't work for the airlines. So that's not our future. Our future is really going to be in getting the kind of direct service that the region needs for today and for tomorrow.
And so how do you go about doing that? Because it seems like the big mainline carriers, they want to have their fortress hubs, they want to defend them.
They have them.
Yeah, and they do. So is there room to move?
Sure.
How do you maneuver in this environment?
Sure. So first of all, we have a great amount of service by the network carriers. We see Southwest there. We see carriers like Allegiant growing. We have regional service by Sun Air, and we think that there's more to do with those existing carriers on the domestic front, and then we know that there's more to do on the international front with nonstop year-round service.
So what do you do? Pick it off city pair by city pair?
Yeah. We look at every single market. We look at growth rates. We look at how they benchmark to the national averages. We look at where companies here want to go. I've spent a lot of time talking to organizations as well as individual CEOs and travel managers about their frustration, what they'd like to see, what's missing in the market. We've got good service to a lot of markets, but it could be a timing issue. It could be a daily service issue. It could be an issue of which airline is flying when. So we're trying to match the needs of the market to the specific airlines that we're going after, targeting first by supporting the existing carriers we have, and then second by targeting new carriers in new markets.
Now, are there new carriers popping up around the country still?
Yes, that we have OneJet. That's a brand new airline, and we see that as an innovative business model. I notice you have Uber on your segment a little bit later. We love to see innovation right at the airport. We'd like to see more of it in terms of business models. Not anything that threatens our existing carriers or taxi services, but complements them and provides what the region needs.
One jet, that's a really different model than I think the big jets people are used to flying around.
But it's perfect because it's a 7-seat Hawker. It is a jet. It's leather seats. It flies at 39,000 feet. And it's going to small and medium-sized markets that right now people have to connect to. So to get to Indianapolis or Milwaukee, prior to one jet, you were connecting through Chicago or another hub. And now to be able to get there nonstop, it makes a whole lot of difference.
So you mentioned that size plane. It feels more like a little corporate jet.
It is. It is. It's fantastic. I would encourage people to give it a try because it's a great flight experience.
You mentioned international service. I know that's on a lot of minds around here. The Allegheny Conference, which co-produces this program, played a big part in coming up with a stake that made it possible to get transatlantic service back to Pittsburgh. Is there more that can be done?
Yes, and I first of all would like to thank the Allegheny Conference for its leadership role and everybody who played a role in getting Delta into this market at the time and demonstrating that this market can support service to Europe. That is a fantastic success story, and we'd love to see Delta go year-round, and we'd love to see a major European market served nonstop daily because we know that the service is there. We have a lot of companies that do business back and forth in Europe and more looking at India. So we think that there's an opportunity for increased service beyond the seasonal service by Delta.
So what's it going to take to make that happen?
Well, we're working on it. It's a lot of conversations, it's a lot of meetings, it's a lot of highlighting the assets of the community and putting them in the context of how they fit each carrier's strategy, because there are a lot of airports competing for very limited airplanes, and we have to demonstrate why we make sense as the next best place for that very limited asset, and why it'll be successful, and why it makes sense for their strategy and their network.
Only a few seconds left, but I got to ask you, that is the question. Why do we make sense? What's the pitch? Why should they be coming
here to Pittsburgh? Look at this place. It's fantastic. It's underserved. There's a community that's waiting to grow and to do more travel, and with the right air service in here, it's going to be good for the airlines and good for the community. It's a win-win. There's no doubt that there's no doubt that we make sense. It's just getting them to believe it and then getting the airplanes to fly here.
All right, Christina Cassotis, new head of the Airport Authority. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next up, Uber rides into town, and ground transportation here may never be the same. Stay with us.